Right, I'm just going to introduce Charlie Stark with a track called Brain Hearts, yeah? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So what's happening, dude? How you doing? You good?
Hello? Hello? Are you receiving?
Yeah, so that was Brain Hearts. Charlie Start off the new album, Always in Stairs. How you doing?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, that was the new track off the new album, Always in Stairs.
So I'll give you a little introduction.
You can introduce anything you like.
Introduce with an introduction.
Oh, yes.
Well, we've kind of known each other for a little bit, isn't it? 20?
It's been a couple of years, isn't it? Probably about 20 years.
Yeah, it's probably like that.
Since I went through the Hyperloop system, everything's gone completely backwards, so I'm not even sure anymore.
Well, anyway, do you know what I'm saying? So, you've just dropped this new album, Always in Stairs.
Did I drop it? Can you pick it up for me, please?
Many droppings. No, honestly, mate, it's probably
far too many droppings.
Oh, it's good, mate. It's good. Like 20 years ago, when we were sat in your bedroom making, and I don't even know what we were doing at that point. We were just like making stuff for the hell of making it, right?
We had shareware, and we had freeware, and we had CDs that had sounds on them, and we put them in the computer.
We had many
Tupperware, of course.
5-finger wares. I think at the time he was like a proper reason head, right? Do you remember?
Yeah, I was Fruity Loops. Don't get me wrong. I did like Fruity Loops because that was like, it had VSTs.
Yeah, but then... no, you was always
I
on
know,
your
I did like
Reason.
No, I started on Fruity Loops. I know, in fact, I started on Rebirth. which was made by Propeller Heads, and I got that, when I was like, I don't know, 12, 13 years old, and you had skins for that, and you could play around with it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, the one thing I've noticed about this album, right, the sound is proper organic. So I don't 20 years ago when we started writing tunes, it was, I mean, you've kind of kept that sort of you've developed a sound, right? In today's music market, there's these people that kind of make their own sound because they want it to sound a particular way. So they want to get in a particular genre. But I think what you've done is create something quite organic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that when you say that, that's what, makes my hair stand on end.
No, you're right, mate. No, honestly, because there's people that manufacture their own sound. There's people that get out there, they say, look, I want to get in this particular scene. I'm going to write some music in a particular way to appeal to a particular person. But I feel like you've kept true to your sound from when we were youths, when we were 20 years ago. Do you know what I mean? You've developed it. It's fresh.
I haven't stopped. I haven't stopped making music since then, and I've enjoyed every moment of it.
Yeah, you haven't stopped.
It's never been about selling it. It's never been about making it for other people. It's purely sort of, a bit selfish, really. But that's how I've kept it, because I think that is how you get the best music.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, we'll get down to the first question. So, what inspires you musically?
Cricket on a Wednesday afternoon.
So many crickets.
Are we talking the insect?
No, I'm more into locusts, actually. Have you ever seen a plague of locusts attack?
Yeah, I'd say always instead.
They can consume tons, 40,000 tons in an hour. Yeah, that's a real point. I heard it off of David Attenborough the other day. Here is a massive group of consumers. So yeah, they're inspiring. The way they attack stuff and in a group. And just want to make a massive shout out to the amazing group of locusts around me, eating up the music industry, smashing it out to Everson, out to Dan Samsa, Mr. Owen Howes over here, and a lot of lovely people that are really supporting me and making things happen at the moment.
We're just going to step into one of the tracks off the album. Here we go, yeah?
Kiss, darling.
Different styles, and we have these different styles. Let's see what style we prefer. Different styles of kisses, and then we see what one can work. We make a combination of the two, and that's what we do all night long. Singing my favorite song, 'cause you're my favorite girl. Living in this old world. Styles of kissing, see which style we prefer. We have a different style. Have a different style. We have a different style. Have a different style. And we have these different styles. Have a different style. And we have these different styles. We have a different style. And we have these different styles of kissing. And then we see what one can work. Style of kissing. Have a different style. We have a different style. And we have these different styles. We have a different style. And have these different styles. We have our different styles. And we have these different styles. We have our different styles. And we have these different styles. We have our different styles. And we have these different styles.
So what the burning question really is, right? Is how many different styles of kissing there is.
Amazing question, you see. And that's why I like these open-ended things. Because it leaves you wondering. It leaves it to your imagination. And I think that is better than, me telling you how many styles there is.
All right, we're going to get serious, right? So, how do you go about the creative process? How do you start it?
I have to... Oh, God. This is really difficult one. So I never start it a particular way, but I just... It goes in like waves. You have sort of ideas in waves, I find. So you could set yourself a target and say, right, I'm going to sit down on Tuesday, I'm going to make music.
Never works.
But that's not how it works, really. I mean, you'll end up doing something, but whether or not that's the vibe. So what I've sort of worked out is how you can just kind of feel yourself into the vibe and get, when you feel it, it might be at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday morning. But that's when it comes. So you can't really say, oh, this is how I started. But if I get inspired by something that's happened, it's normally to do with some like a feeling that I've had, or sometimes I heard there was a toilet door the other day. And it did a B sharp and I was just like,
I'll sample that.
and I didn't even sample it, but it was like, I don't know, it just made me think about things like, those kind of noises. So I went home and made a tune. And it wasn't actually any good, but it was, that.
Do you remember that time when we were at that place in Greenwich?
Yeah.
We were in hallways and stairs, right?
There you go, a lot of the albums. Yeah.
And then we were recording the door shutting. Do you remember that heavy door?
Yeah. Boom. It was a great sound, yeah. What did we ever do with that? Yeah.
We made an absolute banger that night.
Yeah. The lost hard drives. They've got much to say, yeah. I don't know. I can't really answer that.
So leads me on to the next question. What do you enjoy most about writing music or being a musician?
Right, I think if I didn't have music, I'd be an absolute psycho. Put it that way, because that is my outlet of my feelings and emotions. And being Charlie Stark, that is the way that I've kind of, projected my stuff that I feel and all the things that I've thought about onto this character, Charlie Stark. So it allows me, it's an outlet for me. And that's one of the things I love most about it.
We step into the other one, but the next question obviously is, what's the worst thing about being a musician?
That you're sort of made to feel like you're supposed to do something, and that you're supposed to, you jump through these hoops of being a musician and what that means to be a musician, or what, you're supposed to go on YouTube, you're supposed to go on Instagram, you're supposed to go on all these things and sort of have to follow these sort of kind of mundane eventualities of being, doing music. And I, as much as I love doing music, and I know that obviously I have to have this presence online, sometimes it's really annoying and I just don't want to do it. So, in fact, I don't. I don't do it. I just don't.
Yeah. And I think there's like this, like nowadays there's this pressure on musicians to not only be a musician, you got to be a graphic designer, web designer, videographer, you got to be a social media dude.
I've got a mate who's Andy Foray, out to Andy Foray, big up Andy Foray, a really inspirational guy. He was in the original Hair musical, and he released records on Decca Records when he was a kid and stuff. And being an artist then was so much more fun. and much, you know, you'd got on a label and they would just, you know, you'd be taken around in limousines, you'd be, you know, he wasn't a massive like star, but he was big enough to, you know, to get around and enjoy being an artist. Nowadays, you sort of like, oh right, you're an artist, so okay, right.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, the problem is there's a lot of artists that aren't really that talented at the moment. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people trying to do what they do, and they're good at what they're. Some of them are really good, but some of them are crowding, you know, fogging the scene. You know
We've kind of reached saturation point, I think, for a lot of styles, and that's when with Paulways and Stairs, there is a lot of styles on there, and I just because I don't just make dance music, I don't just make electronic music, I don't make just one particular style of music, which I think has been a bit of a downfall for me in some ways, because you don't find your sort of catchment area or your sort of crowd. And something that I've never been really up for, but I guess, you know, you can incorporate. The beauty of that is being able to incorporate loads of different styles into what you do.
And I think, like what I was saying earlier about being organic, that's what's set you out. For me, I think that's what sets your album out amongst maybe some other sort of like dancey, like disco-y sort of, like, you know, that sort of funky sort of stuff. Because it's, yeah. How do you even describe it? I don't even know where to put it.
One that I really liked was Andy Weatherall said it was high quality machine funk.
Bang on, mate. Bang on.
I really like that one. I've heard some good ones, but that is the best one. And machine funk was something I never knew I did. But it's kind of, you know, electronic soul. I mean, it's got, you know, whatever you want to make it.
So this is a bit of an open-ended one, but describe your musical journey, or in fact your journey that's led you to this point. I know it's been a long one, because 20 years ago, obviously, we were sat in your mum's house.
How long have you got?
On like some green Mac.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
And the iMac.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. And
so describe your journey from there.
Oh God.
Come on. We don't, obviously,
So, yeah,
I'm not talking about every day.
So there we were making grime beats, like esky beats back then, sort of, you know, with distorted tom. Boom.
Yeah. We were basically trying to make grime, like dark garage.
But it wasn't even called grime then. It didn't have a name. It was just sort of, you know, it was like we were listening to 138 Trek and, you know, all kind of like those kind of really bingo beat stuff, the zinc stuff. What's it called? Benny Page. Yeah, and just lots of that kind of like really dark, grimy, but also really uplifting music. And it had a lot of soul, like garage music had a lot of soul in it. It still does have a lot of soul, and you know, I really got into that. My brother actually played on radio on Juice FM back in the day, and yeah, he used to play, and my dad used to send me to bed, and I'd be like, oh right, okay, I'm going to bed, Dad. And then I'd wait for my brother's set, and I'd listen to it on my headphones in my bed, and you know, that was really inspiring for me, and just, you know, I couldn't believe like this music. It was so like repetitive, like the progression of it, and I just really enjoyed it. So.
Do you remember that song? Would you like some? Nah, bruv. Because I don't promote no art. Do you remember that one?
No hard drugs. Yeah.
Do you remember that one?
That was part of a gang rehabilitation program. And it was. I did it with what's that guy? He's massive. He's called Big Nasty. I went up there to the studio, and we all did our tracks, and it was all like sort of, you know, anti-drugs, and it was really fun actually. We had a few of us doing it, and we were just sort of locked in the studio for a few days. It was all paid for, everything came out, and we released a CD. And I was kind of like an MC more than anything back then. I was producing, but I hadn't, you know, I think I had a really early version of Cubase with a MIDI keyboard and Fruity Loops. But yeah, that was it.
So has there been any moments in the last however long that you could define as like key moments in your music career?
I think because I had a band, and that was really like, you know, I loved having a band and loved having, we had 6 of us, and we built that up over quite a while, and I used to love going around in the tour bus and going to places, and that was defined me as on stage and sort of like really got me onto being in stage and feeling confident on stage. Excuse me.
What was the line? Something about lemons.
Yeah. If you don't know the apple, yeah. You make me bananas because you don't know the apple and you're just so lemon. You melon.
The one, you melon.
Yeah, they don't die, those lyrics. They're still there.
Any other defining moments?
So, yeah, I think when I was a kid, when I was going even further back, I did my work experience as a kid with AAJA Deptford Foundation and Filthy Dirty Rich, and in a place called, what was it called? Something radio, Pyrotechnic Radio. So I did my work experience there. So I was like, straight off from, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go and work with these people.
What was that? Who's Pyrotechnics?
It was, CM they're called. There's a music school called CM. And my next door neighbour was the founder of CM. Or the manager or someone quite big in it. So, and he knew I was a bit of a loose straw. And he was just like, right, do you want to go and do that? And I was like, cool, yeah. So that was quite a defining moment, I guess.
So what inspired you to write Hallways and Stairs?
Well, it's kind of metaphorical, really. It's like, you find yourself, you're always going through your transitional moments. You're like the transition from one place and then up the stairs to another, and then you go through another hallway, and it always, I feel life always feels like that. I'm sort of either you're going through the hallways and up the stairs, or always down the stairs. And it's always spiraling out of control.
Every time I read the name, I kind of imagine that place in Greenwich. Yeah. I feel like that
did have a massive, because that was how many fucking staircases was that? Yeah. That was like 30 sets of stairs. I don't know, the audience don't know, but I had a really cool studio up in like the clock tower of Greenwich, and like I got given it for free. I just had the whole run of it. I had some really nice speakers that were already in there, and I'd just bring my laptop and set up, and I'd have 24-hour access. Yeah,
it was so nuts. They had such a good creative buzz to it, didn't it? Because it was so strange. It wasn't like any other studio you could be in. No. You could walk down you could look over the little balcony bit and you'd see London for as far as you could see. Do you know what I mean?
It was bizarre. It was a bizarre thing, and it did have a lot of hallways and stairs.
Yeah, wasn't it like an old? Didn't it have like a theatre or something downstairs?
Yeah, it was an old cinema. So it's now a dance school, but they had all the projection. Where the studio was actually in the projection room. So we used to have, we could peek through the things when they were doing dance school. We could sometimes peek through the projection things, which was weird. But
well, I was going to ask you next what inspired the name, but I kind of think you've answered that question really.
Yeah, no, Hallways and Stairs is it's quite, it's ambiguous really, but I liked it because it did have a lot of connotations for me. And in fact, I've wanted to do Hallways and Stairs as an album for years. And I've had it in the back of my mind as something like an album name. And I've got a few of these sort of, conceptual things going on. And that's part of the problem of having so much music is being able to put it into packages that people understand.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'll tell you what. So some of the stuff when you was putting stuff together before, I feel like they weren't quite as a whole body of music. Yeah. Whereas Hallways and Stairs definitely feels like a conscious theme going through it, and it has like it's a proper body of music. And in fact, it leads me on. Is there a conscious theme amongst all the tracks?
Yeah, I guess because I've always been like a raver. Ever since I was 13, I was old enough to wear a leather jacket and some loafers. Like, I was out there.
and nothing else. I just loafers, a leather jacket, and my bum.
And and some aftershave obviously as well. But yeah, as soon as I was allowed out of the house, sort of on a I'm going to stay at my mate's house tonight.
As soon as I was allowed out, I turned into an instant flasher.
Yeah, Gareth, I know this has been a fantasy of yours for years, but come on. You see, yeah.
No. So, like, what I'm trying to say is, is there a theme that stretches across all the tracks? is there like a message you wanted to give out, or is it just like
There's a lot of it's a very like love kind of based album actually. There's a lot of stuff about love and kissing and and missing someone, and I think the feeling that I wanted to give was just like very dancey, and I wanted it to be an album you could dance to and you could play at a party.
I mean, so was there anyone else you worked on the album with? Did you do like, was there anyone an inspiration or a good help in it while you was writing it, or?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot like because I had my spaceship caravan in Deptford.
The caravan, that is a defining moment, mate.
Yeah, that was a massive defining moment. Yeah, I mean
I'd say that was one of the defining moments for creating your style.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, when I it was 6 years.
It was a long time, yeah.
6.5 years, and like in that caravan and flying around the galaxy, mostly ending up in Deptford, and I did my degree as well at the same time, and I met a lot of people who influenced me for that.
I think like it turned into this kind of like melting pot of like ideas. We'd be sitting there writing a track, someone would pop their head in, and then it would change. Do you know what I mean? Someone would say, "Oh, why don't you do this?" Or they'd throw down a vocal.
It was a bit like a club. It was a little bit like a club, and people like really did come in and just jam with me, even if they weren't interested in adding to the music, which sometimes was cool for me because you can't have too many cooks and stuff. But it was just it was the vibe that they would bring, and Dan would always make me aware of the fact that I'd stand up while I produced. And he's like, "You always stand up when you produce," and I was like, "Oh right, yeah, you're right," because I'm kind of like dancing around and doing the music at the same time.
Dan is Daniel Samba.
But
Samson?
he loves a bit of samba, but he's called Dan Samsa.
Samsa. That's the one, Dan Samsa. Formerly war snare. Absolutely brilliantly talented war snare. Oh, bollocks. Sorry, Dan.
The war share.
So, whatever I just said just now, just ignore that, all right? War shares.
Yeah, he's got lots of weaponry, I tell you that.
So
there's a new EP actually coming out. Charlie Stark, Dan Samsa, and that's coming out later in the year.
Absolutely smashing it.
Yeah.
What's that? Similar sort of stuff, or?
No. This is different tangent. It's a hybrid.
Hybrid.
Yeah.
Holy mackerels. So, like, I mean, what is... So, there's 10 tracks, right? What is the number one track for you? What's your favourite? I know you're gonna find that hard, but...
Do you know what? There's one called The Fabric of Consciousness. And I think that personally means a lot. They all mean a lot, but that one means more than the others in a way, because that was when I actually first got that studio that we were talking about. And my mate Kevin from the Minesweeper Collective just led me up there, and he was like, "Look, here's your studio." And I was like, "No way." And I had my laptop and like everything there, and there was a harp there, and there was like this harp thing, and I was just like, "Oh wow." And that was when I made that track, and all the words on there, I kind of just like I turned off the lights in the studio and just closed my eyes. I'd done some like the harp work and like the basic stuff, and I just sort of closed my eyes and just said stuff, and all the stuff that I said, it just came out, and I'd had these really cool experiences that I won't go into and stuff, but I really feel like everyone around me is on this kind of fabric of consciousness, and we're joined together with that. So yeah, that's why it's my favourite track.
Yeah, I think my one's probably Q's and A's. I quite like that. I've got a vibe to that one.
Yeah.
Q_S_A._S. Is that Q's A's?
Q's and A's, yeah.
Q's and A's.
Yeah, Q's are like questions and answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I like that one, man.
Yeah.
That's really good.
What do you like about it?
do you know what? I like the you've got this kind of like industrial sort of like xylophone sort of sound in it. It's kind of a xylophone but a little bit distorted.
Okay.
I really like it, mate.
Yeah.
It's got good vibes, and then there's a few little bits in it where there's like a little riff,
Yeah.
with the xylophone. In fact, I feel like playing it. If I'm
Yeah,
honest.
go on.
I feel
Let's
like-
play
right,
it.
just have a little
Let's play
chat while I find it. And,
Okay, yeah, I'm just, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say goodbye to everyone, and you know, it's nice to be on the show with you, Mr. Skimo, and I look forward to hearing more from you, and we've got a big year sorted this year, so watch out for that.
Big. Well, that's been Charlie Stock, and this next one is called Q's and A's.
Could've told you when I saw your face, I'd wanna see you again.
That was the xylophone.
Something about the way you move makes me wanna be into you.
Yes. That was Charlie Stark. Very, very talented Charlie Stark. Check out his album Hallways and Stairs, out right now.
I need to know, baby. I got questions in my mind, and I need to know, is it on? Am I right? Makes me wanna am I right? You want me to, you want me back. All this love is on track.
Reality, yeah. Even if you dislike